Well, welcome, Dr. Goldner, to our studios. It's so good to have you here.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
We love to have our Vegetarian Society speakers coming in, and you'll be talking tonight at the Cameron Center. And thanks to all who have been listening and watching, too. We do get some nice comments from people from time to time. Oh, I watched that show. It's fascinating. And we especially love the Vegetarian Society for the amazing people that come here to Maui. And this isn't your first time on Maui.
No, I was married here back in 2005.
Yeah.
This is a special place. As soon as I land and I smell the sugar cane, I just feel like I'm home.
Well, when I landed, you could smell, you smelled the sugar cane, but you also got pineapple and diesel, the diesel from the trucks, and the smells from the cane, the sugar cane factory, which was kind of obnoxious, but you get used to it, Yeah,
so I think it's nice. It's better than the smell of traffic on the mainland, Well,
it smells different now because we don't burn the cane anymore, and the sugar company is shut down. So it's becoming a more agricultural island, I think, which is really important, not just a sugarcane growing and pineapple growing island, which also requires a certain amount of pesticides and that kind of thing. So some of the land needs to be revitalized, and a lot of people are talking about sustainability. And along with that really is vegetarianism and the right things to eat. And that's part of your talk tonight, talking about the things that make you sick and the things that make you well, and things in the supermarket. Like, we kind of avoid supermarkets. We go to, the health food stores and so on. But your talk tonight will be at 7 p.m. at the Cameron Center, where these talks usually are, and usually on the first Thursday. Is it? What?
This isn't the first Thursday.
No, it certainly isn't.
It's in the middle of the month. If I could get that straight, it would help me, but I don't know. It's in the middle of the month on Thursday.
It's tonight. July 11th at 7 p.m. at the Cameron Center. And you talk about 3 foods that are making you sick, 3 foods essential for healing, and simple things you can do to start to save your own life. And I think as we get older, we realize it's pretty important.
Yeah. Well, some people wait till they're older, but for me, my life was in danger since I was really young. So I'm a doctor now, but before I was a doctor, I was a patient. And I was actually diagnosed with something called lupus when I was 16. So when I was only 16, I had kidney failure. I was in stage 4 kidney failure. I had arthritis. I had rashes. I couldn't be in the sun, or else I'd get really sick. I'd have migraines for days, vomiting. So I was really, really ill back then. And it took a lot of Western medicine to save me. I mean, I was on chemotherapy for 2 years to try to shut off my immune system. Because with people with lupus, at the time, this was, it was a while ago in the 90s, where we didn't have as many fancy meds as now. And they were trying to figure out, since lupus attacks your immune, it makes your immune system attack your body, maybe if we can shut off the immune system, we can save a person. So chemotherapy accidentally shuts off your immune system when you have cancer, right? That's why people with cancer often die of infections. So I thought, what if we do it on purpose and give people with lupus chemotherapy to see if we can shut off their immune system? Kind of like, you ever do Control-Alt-Delete on your computer? Like if your computer's not working, you shut it off and then reboot it and hope it's working. So that was the theory. And it took 2 years to shut down my immune system, because every time they tried to stop the chemo, the lupus would come back, my kidneys would get worse. So from 16 to 18, I was just taking high-dose steroids, chemotherapy, and studying so I could go to college. Yeah. So, I mean, that was something that I was told was, incurable. And I'd have that, I'd probably be disabled by my 30s or 40s, and I wouldn't live very long life. So I just decided I was going to make my life count for whatever I could, and I thought being a doctor would be a great way to serve.
So physician, heal thyself, in other words.
Well, yeah, I just, I was really good at being a functional sick person, and so I thought, well, maybe I can help other people who are ill find passion and purpose and happiness, because you don't need to be healthy in order to be happy. And so that's what I did, and I was able to go through college. I actually in spite of my illness, I graduated in the top 10 in my class. I just memorized my books because I was sitting home on chemo. Might as well,
Might as well memorize something.
I would go to chemo and then I'd be home vomiting and I'd just read my books. And so I went to college. I went to medical school. Got sick again in medical school. Had mini strokes from the lupus. And so by the time I was 28, I was taking blood thinners every day, injecting myself in the stomach, so that was just what life was. But I felt lucky because one, lupus hadn't killed me yet, so they kept trying, but I was still there. I was graduating medical school, and how many people get to live their dream, which that was my dream.
Sure.
And I was content with that. I just figured, even if I become disabled, I can still be a doctor for as long as I can. And then, I was happy with that.
Yeah.
And then everything got turned on its head when I met my husband. So at 28, met my husband, Thomas Tadlock, and the guy wanted to marry me even though I was sick, which was really weird. At 28, he's extremely gorgeous, brilliant man. And, I told him, I can't have your kids. I'm going to die young. You're going to have to take care of me when I get disabled. And he just said, I'd rather have a short life with you than a lifetime with anyone else.
Well, what did he like about you?
What do you like about me?
She wasn't as beautiful probably then as you are now. You are glowing.
Well, at 42, I think I had something going on at 28 but he likes my legs, No, you know what it was?
Which you can't see on, there we go. Oh, wow.
No, but no, we had a soul connection. I don't know if you've ever, met someone where it just felt like, it was so deep that we would stay up all night crying and holding each other because it felt like we'd been apart for 1,000 years and we'd found each other again, it's still, and even to this day, if we look in each other's eyes too long, we cry. I'm crying talking about him, and it's been 14 years since we've been married. But so this was an exciting thing that, I'd never really planned for a white dress. I'd planned for a white coat, and I was content. But we decided to get married. And we decided to get married in Maui, and all of a sudden I had to rethink things because I'd been training in Pittsburgh. Now, Pittsburgh's one of the fattest cities in the country. I'd been eating the best diet for being overweight and sick, which is hospital food. Yeah.
Do they still serve the Jell-O? They still do Jell-O? Jell-O shots?
Well, I've been vegetarian since I was 12 because I just loved animals. But in Pittsburgh, if you ordered a salad, they would put French fries and ranch dressing on top. It wasn't a good place to.
Probably bacon bits. Too.
I didn't eat the bacon, but but then I went to LA for my residency. I went to UCLA-Harbor, so I'm going to LA, and then I'm getting married in Maui, and I really wanted to lose some weight, look good. And my husband at the time was a celebrity trainer. He was actually, MTV would ship him in to train people who had to get a six-pack in like 4 weeks for their music video. They've been drinking too much. They're bloated, So I said, well, I want to look like an MTV person for my wedding. And the cool thing is we both went to Carnegie Mellon. We're both scientists. And so what he studied was really how can you give someone a fast metabolism by changing their cells through diet? And so he really focused on nourishment. And when you nourish people well, instead of starving them like most people when they want to lose weight, they starve. He nourished them, lots of vegetables, lots of water, omega-3 fatty acids. And then he gave them free-range meat for protein. Well, I was a lifelong vegetarian, which, I was really a cheese and eggitarian. So,
lactose.
I ate cheese, eggs every day. So he said, all right, I've never trained a vegetarian, so I guess I'll give you tofu instead of meat. But you can't eat all that saturated fat. It will never get the fat off your body. So I had to give up my dairy and all the eggs I ate. So I accidentally became vegan, but really a high raw vegan. And
raw.
Tons of. I was eating like 10 to 12 cups of raw vegetables a day.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. It was. I mean, I had jaws of steel. I could have bitten off a car door, at that point. But I felt amazing. And for the first time in my life, I'm an intern. I'm working 30-hour shifts. I've got so much energy. I've got no arthritis. I feel so good. I think maybe it's because I'm in love. I don't know why I feel so good.
Well, that helps though. Those,
but I was in love for like 6 months before that without feeling that good physically. But I felt really good. And then right before we came to Maui, I went to my new doctors in California. And one, I'd gone from a size 11 to a size 3 in about 3.5 months. So I was looking really, really fit. And the other thing was all the tests that they ran for lupus were negative. Now, at this point, I'd had lupus for 12 years, from 16, and I'd had kidney failure and blood clots. So this was serious disease. And they thought it was a lab error. So they said, go to Maui, have your wedding, enjoy it, come back, and we'll retest you. And I came back, they retested, and now my blood clot antibodies are gone. And my cholesterol, which had been high since I was 20, and they told me it was genetic, nothing to do with all the eggs and cheese.
Yeah,
well, that was normal.
Right.
And so, it's gone on since then. So this year is 14 years that I still do not have lupus. And because this happened when I was an intern, it really changed everything about my understanding of the human body and medicine. Because, all I did was change my diet, and I didn't learn anything in medical school that gave you any idea that diet could be important to health.
Well, there's no nutrition in medical
Not at all.
school, and they don't teach that.
No,
So-
but I mean, if I'd been given an option between a green smoothie and 2 years of chemo, I definitely would have gone for the green smoothie. I still do. I drink it every day.
Green smoothie. What's in that?
So this one, I stopped at the Whole Foods on the way.
Yeah.
So this one is the Goddess Glow. They're getting a free plug now. See, so this one is kale and spinach and mango, pineapple, flax seeds. It's delicious.
It is delicious.
You
It's
put
so good.
mango in any smoothie,
Well,
and
that's
it
true.
just gives it
especially
flavor.
here, the fruit
Yeah.
on this island is
Oh,
great.
yeah,
So
yeah.
so really, what we did was we spent time reverse engineering what happened to me. Especially, I really went against doctor's orders. They told me that I could never have children because it would kill me, or I'd kill the baby. I was going to have a stroke. But after 4 years of being healthy, I kind of convinced my husband. You can convince a man, you just.
I wouldn't know. I don't know how that works.
I don't know. He was scared, but it happened anyway. And I had a healthy pregnancy, healthy delivery. And that's when we knew it was really gone. And so we started studying, well, what did I change about my diet? Because that's all I changed, really. And what was I eating before that could actually be creating illness? And what did I start eating that could reverse inflammation and encourage cellular repair? And we realized we'd accidentally created the most anti-inflammatory nutrition plan possible. So we started testing it on people. And we have found that it not only reverses lupus, but rheumatoid arthritis, Sjogren's, scleroderma, psoriatic arthritis. I mean, I have not yet met an autoimmune disease that won't get better, multiple sclerosis. And because we use something we call hyper-nourishment, where we just oversupply the body with the most nourishing foods, people get better really quickly. Like 4 to 6 weeks, people have dramatic changes, if not full remission.
Well, it kind of sounds like you went full, a cold turkey in your diet. You just stopped eating the dairy and the eggs. I mean, you didn't kind of ease off of it.
No, I mean, I was more of so I ate lots of, every morning I would have like my egg and cheese sandwich, for breakfast.
Yeah.
And I liked eating fruits and vegetables, but not a huge amount. If I drank anything, it had to have caffeine in it, because going through medical training, there's no value to water. It has to be caffeinated. Like,
So you don't drink coffee then?
I will sometimes for the flavor,
Yeah.
but I don't need the caffeine.
Yeah.
I drink tons of water, and actually water
Yeah,
is
really.
essential for healing, and most people are super dehydrated, and even if they eat well, they won't get healthy without
Absolutely.
enough water.
I
Can I ask a
carry this
question
with
here?
me all
Yeah,
the
shoot.
time.
I'll drink my smoothie.
I've
Yeah, I'll drink it.
somebody told me that if it's not water, it doesn't count as water. So you can't drink herbal tea instead. And I believed him for a long time. And then I Googled it and found that wasn't true. But Google isn't as reliable as sitting here with you, I don't think.
All right, so they probably heard that from me. So as I'm a scientist at heart, and so for me, if I'm tracking people's food, so that's what I do. So I actually originally went into psychiatry. I'm board certified in psychiatry and neurology because I realized that people's emotional health was a better indicator of their recovery than other physical things you did. But then this happened to me.
Yeah.
So now I primarily do disease reversal with people. And what I found is, while some people can see me online and I'll give them a detailed nutrition plan, I'll take, you tell me what you're eating, I'll tell you, here, change breakfast to this, change lunch to this. I give them everything, tell them how to step down, all that. Email them all my notes, and some people take it and do it and they are disease free, and then other people do it for like 2 weeks and then they get a bad craving for pizza or it's Christmas or something and they fall off the wagon and they stay sick. So I created these programs where I work with people every day for 4 weeks or 6 weeks straight, where every day you have to check in with me.
Yeah,
And
you need that.
I'm an overbearing Jewish mother. So every day, what did you eat? How did you sleep? Did you meditate? How much greens did you have? How much water did you have? Did you fight with your husband? Let me help you with that. Anything that's going on in their life, I help them with, to help them, because stress is inflammatory and all those different things. So
And stress makes you hungry.
It makes you eat the wrong things right for comfort.
Sure. Yeah.
So what I do is, since I'm doing this and I'm tracking every day, everything they're eating, everything they're drinking, I'm very strict. If you're going to put down how much water you have, let it be water. Now, herbal tea is made from water. It doesn't have any diuretics in it like caffeinated tea. So it probably is as good as water, but I don't want to have there be any gray. I want it to be very clear. This is how much water you had.
Because you're curing people. But I'm not really that sick, so I can have a little herbal tea. It's not going to kill me.
There's nothing wrong with having herbal tea, but most people do not drink enough water.
It doesn't count as water?
Not on my program. Because if you write down how much water you have, that better be water.
But what about,
I don't want carbonated
what about
water.
In general? Because my friend said, listen, your body is yes or no. Is it water or not water?
You know, I haven't tested it to see. Let's take two groups, and one group has 96 ounces of herbal tea a day, and the other have just water, and see if there's a difference in the results. So I never like to give my thoughts on things. I only teach results, because results are, you can't argue with those.
Do you think we're supposed to have 96 ounces of water a day?
For disease reversal, it's essential.
Really?
So over the
Does it
past,
depend on your weight?
what's that?
Well, I mean, I only weigh 100 pounds.
Yeah, so that's perfect for you. So it depends what you want for your body. Here's the thing. So over the past decade, we've been running people through these programs en masse. So I literally, like in my rapid recovery group, 30 people at a time. So I know what works and what doesn't, just from massive amounts of results, thousands of people. And what I found is, if you're trying to reverse a disease or lose weight or do anything that's going to change your body, water is a necessary ingredient for all those chemical reactions. So when you run out of water, those stop. So when I'm hyper-nourishing, I'm oversupplying all the ingredients so that your body does the best job it can at the maximum rate possible. So what I've found is, most people do not get rapid results if they drink less than 96 ounces a day. Wow. They just don't. So that whole 64 ounces a day, that'll keep you alive, but it's not going to keep you vibrant. And it also depends on where you live. I mean, people who live in dry climates, they need way more. Yeah. Or if you're sweating all day, you're outside schwitzing here, and and it's hot outside.
These days, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I usually get people up to a gallon a day, which is 128 ounces. But someone your size, if you're 100 pounds, I usually say drink your body weight in ounces. So, you're going to go to the bathroom a lot, but also, if you're dehydrated, you're going to be constipated, you're going to have more headaches, you're going to have less skin health. If you want really glowing, healthy skin, you got to hydrate, because your skin's the last organ in your body to get hydrated or to get nourished. So, all of my clients have a glow to their skin because they're so nourished.
Wrinkles?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Are you going to come to the talk? Because you'll see I have a case study in scleroderma. This lady looks like she had a facelift in 6 weeks, because there's such dramatic changes to the skin, too. Yeah.
So the talk is tonight at the Cameron Center. If you're listening on Thursday, the 11th, July 11th, the show is repeated the next day. That's why I mention it. And Down to Earth will also be providing some food for the event, which is a wonderful thing. And how can people, if people are just tuning in and they've got to go on about their business or something, how can they find your information? Do you have a website?
Absolutely, yeah. So my website is goodbyelupus.com. or goodbyeautoimmunedisease.com. They both go to me. And if you go to my website, I teach my entire nutrition healing protocol for free. My husband and I believe that everybody should have the right to great health. And so every 2 months, I go online and I teach every detail of the nutrition protocol and how to do it, and I stay on the line for hours answering questions. Wow. And so I do that every 2 months, and if you go to goodbyelupus.com now, there's a big banner that shows the classes, and people just sign up, and it's July 22nd. And I teach 3 classes in a row that are in detail. So, the talk tomorrow is going to be an overview because it's an hour.
Sure.
And even though I talk fast from New York, right, an hour is still very little time. So I spend each class is about 2 hours plus Q&A. And usually the Q&A is like twice as long as the class because I stay on. I want to make sure people understand it. So I offer that as a way to just make sure everybody on the planet can get their health back. And people show up from all over. I mean, we have like 2,000-3,000 people that will come online to come to the classes, which is probably why the Q&A is so long.
Well, this is an advantage of going to your talk tonight rather than just watching it on video from the vegetarian societies, people
Sure.
can ask you questions.
Yeah, and I give hugs. I'm a big hugger. So if you come in person, like I just had somebody come last night in Honolulu who she was in my rapid recovery group, reversed her autoimmune disease. She's now running for the first time since the 80s, feels great. And I got to give her like 5 hugs, because I often don't meet people I treat because I treat people from all over the world now. So every once in a while, one of them will pop up at a conference and,
Well, you got to catch up then.
Yeah. Yeah, I usually just see people's heads,
Oh, yeah. So, and you have a practice as well in Texas.
It's completely online. So because
it is?
Yeah, so I don't have a physical practice anymore because in any given day I log in and I've got someone in India, New Zealand, somewhere in the States, all over the place. So it didn't make sense anymore to have a brick and mortar practice.
Yeah. Right.
So everything I do, I'm kind of like the doctor of the future. Everything is online, virtual, unless some people do it over phone. I got some older folks with landlines that we call each other. But most of it is video conferencing.
And yet your posture is so good for being at the computer all day.
Well, thank you so much. But fitness is important, and taking care of your spine and your physical body is important too, especially for those of us who sit all day.
So what do you do to counteract the computer every day?
One, I'm really conscious of my posture. In addition to having lupus, I also, look at you standing up straight now. I also, from the age of 13, had to wear a back brace for scoliosis because I had severe scoliosis too. And I wore that till 19. I didn't even put that in my book. I just talked about lupus, but I was very friendly with doctors for many years. So I had 0 muscles in my back because I'd worn that back brace 23 hours a day. So, I lifted weights and things to get my strength back. And my body is.
What do you do now as a daily? You meditate, I hear.
My daily practices are kind of different. At this point in time, I don't exercise every day. It's
5 days, maybe?
No, maybe a couple of days a week. I've gotten a little lazy. I gotta. That's the one thing about when you eat this way, your metabolism stays so fast that it's very easy to just look fit all the time. But I encourage people when they're trying to heal that exercise accelerates your ability to heal and it keeps your inflammation low. But we do have a gym in the house, and I think that's our downfall. It's just you got to go upstairs versus leave your house and go. But I like to do interval training we have a spin bike. So doing high intensity interval cardio, even if it's for like 5-10 minutes, I like to do that too, get the heart pumping.
Yeah.
Okay, since I have you here, and
yes, ma'am.
I have one other question. A lot of the vegans we interview are into no oil. How do you feel about oil in the diet?
Well, oil, it depends, first of all, on the oil. So most oils are inflammatory. And actually, one of the things I'll be teaching tonight, I'm going to show the pathways of how foods create inflammation. And it's something that's unique to my research. When I first discovered this, I never even heard about plant-based nutrition. I'd never heard of plant-based doctors. So I reinvented my own wheel. Actually, and so there's a lot of similarity, but there's also differences. And so one thing I do agree is that most oils are directly inflammatory. They create your inflammatory immune system. So sunflower oil, safflower oil, all those oils. Oils like olive oil are not inflammatory. It's an omega-9, not an omega-6, but it does damage your endothelium of your blood vessels. So if you have heart disease, having stuff with olive oil can be dangerous for you. Coconut oil is a saturated fat. It raises your cholesterol. I've had a lot of vegans with high cholesterol. We take the coconut oil out, cholesterol normalizes. So in general, I say, oils are better for topical use. Coconut oil on your skin. I'll put a little in my bath sometimes. Got to be careful getting out. You don't want to fall down, but it's nice for the skin, that kind of thing. But in terms of eating it, the only oil that I tell people to eat is flax oil. Some people, for omega-3, some people get constipated with the seeds. So if it's a cold pressed oil that's been filtered, refrigerated, they can use that as well and get their omega-3s. And that's only been helpful. It doesn't cause damage.
The way I cheat is sometimes using a little bit of sesame oil for flavor. Mm-hmm. How's that?
Well, I don't really subscribe to the idea of cheating. I think because cheating implies you're getting away with something. Yeah, like when I was in Long Island, New York, and I was a skinny little thing, and there were these big bullies that wanted to copy my tests. They were cheating. They were looking over my shoulder, copying my Spanish test. They got away with it. They got the A2. That was cheating. They got away with it. When it comes to eating, you're either eating something that causes damage or eating something that's creating more health. So you're creating damage when you do that. The question is, are you eating enough of the good things to counteract the damage? So for example, I've been healthy for 14 years now. So if I want to go to a vegan restaurant or if I want to eat an Impossible Burger or something like that, it is inflammatory. It's a processed food. It's got oils. It's inflammatory. I call that recreational eating. You're doing it to get high only, right?
Yeah.
No health benefit.
Yeah.
And it causes damage. But every single day, I drink tons of green smoothies. I'm getting my omega-3s. I'm very hydrated. I don't eat with any oils at home. So my body can handle that. The next day, it's gone. I feel fine, right? But when you're sick or you're trying to fight an illness, then eating even one thing like that can be like ripping the scab off of a healing wound. It just sets you back completely. So I'm very strict with people when they're sick to eat. You're going to eat to heal first. And then if you want to have a beer, you want to have some oil, something like that, do that later. But you got to choose your health first. So there's no cheating. It's just damage and how quickly you can heal it.
You've corrected my vocabulary. That's good to look at it in a positive way.
Well, yeah, I mean,
instead of cheating.
Well, because people ask me that all the time, like how many cheat meals? Like there's no cheat meals. But why would you work so hard? You know, you're going to eat all those vegetables, you know, you're going to do all that, and then you're going to do something that undoes your hard work. And it's mostly because of addiction. People are addicted and they want to feed the addiction. And that's why people usually quit after about 2 weeks on their own too.
Sure.
Is it takes about 2 weeks and then the cravings get intense.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Every time I do rapid recovery with people, at the 2 week mark, they start crying. They're dreaming about pizza and French fries. I don't know if I can do this. I need fat and salt. And I'm like, you can do this. Usually I prescribe exercise, get the dopamine some other way. There's lots of ways to get dopamine, but it's a physical addiction. But if you feed the addiction, it continues. Versus if you get through the shakes and you get through the cravings, after about 3 weeks, the cravings go away and people start to crave kale and other good things. But that's where that comes from, is there's only so long people want to go before the cravings kick in and they don't want to go through it.
Somebody craves kale. Is this true?
I love kale.
You do?
Yeah, that's why I had to go get this smoothie because, you know, I went to dinner with the Vegetarian Society last night. I had, you know, cooked food, and it's very tiring when I eat cooked food. You know, this energy level comes from all my raw foods. So I went over and I saw they were doing something behind the counter. Something was broken. And I said, what's going on? And they said, espresso machine's broken. I said, oh, that's fine. I just need kale. And so she started laughing. She goes, smoothies are working. I'm like, okay, good. I don't need caffeine, but I have to have my kale.
So you prefer like having a blended drink to having a gigantic salad of the same materials?
Well, yeah, I mean, it depends. I actually am a weird person. I love salads. I love eating fresh vegetables. But when you're looking at delivery of nutrients, smoothies are really efficient. So that's one of the things that I teach people is if I want you to have, let's say I'm telling you that I want you to have 10 to 12 cups of leafy greens a day. For a lot of people, that's more than they have in a month.
Yeah.
But
right.
so sitting there and eating that with a fork it's a hard sell.
Yeah,
And it's a time consuming.
Yeah, it is. So, but if I say, hey, get a high-speed blender, you can put all of that greens into the blender, take a handful of flax or chia seeds for your omega-3s, those are anti-inflammatory, then fill the rest with fruit. It's not that much room, but you can get a couple cups of fruit in, put some water in, blend it, and stick a straw in it, and just by the end of the day, finish it. And people do it. It's not hard to do because as long as there's a straw, you're working, you're drinking, you don't even notice it. So I like it because it's simple. Like I could, if I was sitting here eating broccoli with you right now, it'd be awkward,
Yeah.
right? I'd have it in my teeth, I'd be chewing, it'd be rough. But I work all day long with my smoothies and I stay energized, I feel good, and I can just drink them all day. So
Well,
I do prefer that.
I have to say your paper straw is looking rather limp at this point.
This is a
paper
very
straws
sad
are a good
straw.
idea, but they don't hold up.
Yeah, you know, it sounds like a good idea, but yeah, this was that's what they. Thank you to your wife for giving me the stainless straw because it biodegraded before I finished drinking it, so it's very, very limp straw.
Well, it's not for smoothies.
A stainless straw though does not work with a hot drink.
Oh no! But I have these stainless smoothie straws at home, and I love them.
They have bamboo.
And some of them have little like holders or rubber things on the ends. So you're saying that this is really a better way for some people who are not familiar with salad or
or prefer not to be acquainted with them.
Right. And there are a lot of people like that who just you even see it on TV. Broccoli, or salad. Who wants a salad? But by doing this, you're creating a wonderful kind of a milkshake thing. And there's no milk involved, of course.
Right. Yeah.
But with the fruit, it's...
Yeah, it's just enough fruit to make it work. And a lot of people don't believe that at first because it's so much greens. You know, people usually, when they have a smoothie, it's mostly fruit, and then they anoint it with a couple leaves, that turns it green. That's not a green smoothie in my book, because the greens are what I'm using for medicine. So that's how I do it, is my husband and I experimented with how much greens can we get in and how little fruit can we get away with, and it still makes a drink that people will drink. And we give those recipes away online. My husband created a whole online interface for people called SmoothieShred.com. It's got free recipes, videos from us, stuff like that. And we have a free community on Facebook. And the only requirement, they don't have to be vegan, they don't have to be vegetarian, that you're just going to drink a blender smoothie by the end of the day. And what happens is, even people who typically eat McDonald's and junk food and stuff like that, they start drinking smoothies and their blood pressure goes down, their energy goes up, and then they start asking us, hey, can you give us some more ideas for plant-based meals? Like, it's kind of the gateway drug to veganism. You know,
SmoothieShred.com. I'm saying because I want to remember. SmoothieShred.com.
So it's great because we don't put any pressure on people, because nobody wants to give stuff up. Don't take away my food. So we're like, just add this to what you're doing, start drinking them, and you're going to start feeling a ton better. And then, you know, for people who are sick, I'm more aggressive about their nutrition. But for most people, they're so malnourished. They're overfed, but they're completely malnourished. So this is a way to just get nourishment in, and it works. You know, it really works for people.
What about seeds and nuts, legumes?
Well, nuts and seeds are very nutrient rich, but they're also rich in omega-6 fatty acids. So omega-6 fatty acids is the nutrient that your body creates the inflammatory immune system from, which you need. You need an inflammatory immune system. You know, when you bang your knee, it swells up because all your blood, you know, is flowing to that area to repair it. Or when you get a cold, you need your inflammatory immune system. That's what raises your temperature, fights the virus or the bacteria. But if it's activated all day long because your meals are so rich in omega-6 that your body's constantly creating inflammation, that's when you trigger disease. So for someone who's generally healthy, nuts and seeds in their raw form, lots of great nutrients and minerals and things in them. But what I usually suggest is make sure your omega-3s are higher.
How do you know that?
Oh, you can look them up online. So there's this website. It's not my website, but it's called nutritiondata.org. And they have, if you put in like almonds, it'll show you the complete profile of it, including how much omega-3 and omega-6. So in my programs, I have super high doses of omega-3 because those create the anti-inflammatory immune system, and most people don't have any. And then what I do is at first, no nuts or seeds. Let's just get your anti-inflammatory immune system up. And then if they add it, they have to then add more omega-3 to balance it out. So
where do olives fit in this?
Olives are okay as long as they're not soaked in oil, but you can add olives. They're not a healing food per se, but they make salads taste good, you know.
Right.
But I have to be careful because sometimes in my healing program, I told someone you can have some olives, and then I was looking at her meals because they have to show me pictures of their food. They have to like channel their inner millennial Instagrammer. Every time they eat, they need to take a picture. And this lady showed me a picture of a bowl full of olives. I'm like, that's not a meal. No, so I have to be careful. Like a couple olives on top, you know. But they're fine. They're fine.
Now, you say that you can find a lot of the foods that you need at the regular supermarket?
Yep.
Or just a normal, everyday supermarket?
Absolutely.
Well, what about organic? Because we're kind of stuck on the organic thing.
Right. So the whole point, so my book, Goodbye Lupus, is all about how you can reverse autoimmune disease with supermarket foods, which is what I did.
Right.
So when I healed, I was an intern. I was making $30,000 a year with an apartment in LA. It was a room in LA that cost $1,150 a month, right? So I didn't exactly have any money for organic fruits and vegetables. In fact, back then, people didn't really talk about how important that was. They were just starting to talk about organics back then, early 2000s. And so, I just bought whatever fruits and vegetables I could get. You know, so sometimes I got at the farmer's market. I'd go right when they're about to close, and then say, I'll just buy whatever. What can you give me for $20? And they'd give me like 4 bags of groceries. But a lot of the times it would be just regular supermarket foods. And, while I agree that organic is better, one, there's more nutrients in it. Two, it's better not to expose yourself to chemicals and pesticides.
Sure.
But people heal even if they use regular supermarket foods. So I would say if it's a choice between having kale that's not organic or no kale, have kale. Right? Because the benefits outweigh the risks, and people are able to reverse their diseases anyway. So I would say if you can afford organic, great, it's better. But if you can't, still eat your veggies.
I went to a clinic called True North.
Yeah.
Do you know that one?
Yeah.
And they said You have a giant platter of fruit for breakfast, so big that people think it's going to serve 6, and you have a little vegetables on it to help you digest. For lunch and dinner, you have a pound of salad or raw veggies, and then if you're still hungry, then you eat your cooked food. And I never even really learned how to make desserts because I have enough trouble cooking something that's edible and that other people who aren't vegan will like. And my recipes are quite limited. You have recipes on your website that are delicious that are vegan?
Well, it depends what you're looking for. So the majority of the recipes we have right now are smoothie recipes. So I have a book that's Green Smoothie Recipes to kickstart your health and healing. And those are recipes, because people would say, my smoothies don't taste good, I need help. So I published that book back, I think it was like 2013 or something like that. Nowadays, we also have a bunch of free recipes that are just on SmoothieShred.com that are super easy. Like you just buy a bag of greens you can get organic power greens from Costco, a bag of frozen fruit, get some omega-3s put in there. We're trying to make it as simple as possible for me to optimize our
Smoothie
health.
Shred, how many S's in there? How do you?
SMOOTHIESHRED.
Okay.
So, it originally
Shred.
came from, my husband's background was in fitness originally, and he wanted to show people how they could shred fat, get shredded. But now, but he wanted me as a part of that group. Well, at this point, my books have been bestsellers since 2015. So, like, the majority of people in there are actually not looking to lose weight, but they're sick. So that's why the name might not be intuitive. But we have a huge community there, and we're constantly doing live Q&As and putting content in there to help them, too.
And there's back and forth between one website will refer you to the other?
Yes, yeah. If you go to SmoothieShred.com, it also links to GoodbyeLupus.com too. Yeah.
And your books. How can people find your books?
They're on Amazon.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. I actually have another one that's coming out at the end of July, which I'm really excited about.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's called Goodbye Autoimmune Disease, and it's everything that I've learned over the past decade of doing disease reversal, where I apply my psychiatry background to the process. Because what I found was, if you read Goodbye Lupus, it tells you here's the 6 steps to heal. Just eat these things and you'll get better. And if you look at my reviews on Amazon, there's people from all over the world who did that. They just did what it said. But then what happens when people don't? And that's all the mental stuff. There's self-sabotage and motivation and anxiety and health anxiety and depression and peer pressure and all that kind of stuff. And so over the years, that's what I find I help people with the most is the emotional part of getting that healing mindset in so that they can actually embrace this lifestyle. So that's really what this book is about. It's also case studies of all different types of autoimmune disease reversing, but really that other part that's been missing, which is how do I get myself to actually take the steps I need to take and overcome these addictions and heal.
So this is 16 ounces of water here, which I carry with me all the time now. How many of these because I'm not a math guy.
All right, let's calculate.
How many of these do I need to drink?
I'm not a math person either. Hold on. Okay, so.
She's a doctor and not a math person? That's pretty good.
I'm not I'm not a nephrologist.
And all that?
Well, I took math. I did calculus and 3D and all that kind of stuff. But
Honey, she's not a nephrologist.
Nephrologists do math all day. So you should have 8 of those.
I didn't even know.
8 of these. Can you count
8 of these? Well,
6
I
to
could do
8.
that.
6 to 8 of those a day.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I probably do 6.
Yeah.
Because I'm carrying this with me and I'm constantly filling it up.
Yeah, the minimum would be 6, but more likely 8 for you. Yeah. If you really want to change your energy levels, change your health, then yeah.
Well, there's some things that I love, and I think all people love the things that they grew up with. The flavors, and of course we all grew up. I'm much older than you, so I grew up with the typical diet. Nobody even talked about diet much. But I remember my mom, she was concerned because I was overweight. She bought me these, they were like, what do you call that kind of candy that
okay, so she bought you
very
candy.
chewy and caramel. They were like caramels, and they were called AIDS, which I thought
for dieting. I remember they used to advertise
and
those.
this was like supposed to help me in losing weight. Well, it never really did, and I always loved the things that I did as a child growing up. A few special things, and usually associated with mom or family kind of events, sometimes Christmas. We love all those things. But it's so difficult to get over those loves of those things and replace it with other things. So, of course, we've had things like Loma Linda hot dogs and various meat substitutes. I always think about the person who wants to make the transition. And and you mentioned the Beyond Burger and the Impossible Burger, which these are very popular right now. But again, this is all processed foods, and it comes in packaging. If you can avoid the packaging, you're on the way to a better world, really. Packaging is a huge, gigantic problem. And then all the waste that goes along with.
Yeah, well, you bring up a good point, and I deal with this a lot. I help my clients with this because, there's a huge emotional attachment to food. Sometimes we use it as a drug to comfort ourselves because it does. Processed foods, dairy products, animal products, sugars all give us a mental high, a dopamine high in our brain. And so we're searching for that high, right? And then we also associate it with other things, right? So what I help them do is, one, I always teach them that your highs in life should come from activities and relationships, not what's on your plate. You shouldn't be looking for happiness on your plate, right? You have to look for happiness in your life. So if you're coming home and you're looking forward to ice cream to fulfill you, that's a trap. Right? So we need to look for other things. So there's some things you can do, like exercise can give you that same level of dopamine, but also romance can, connecting with friends and laughing till your face hurts. There's so many things.
Joining Citizen Climate Lobby.
Listen to her.
But none of those things are as delicious as a big scoop.
You know what? I beg to differ. Going to a comedy club and laughing or going dancing, that's delicious to me. And, even just spending quality time with people. So many people isolate and then they dig in on food as being their source of fulfillment, and we have to break free of that.
What about sort of a fruit icy smoothie?
Yeah,
thing?
Sure.
You can do that.
Absolutely, but you're not going to get that high, the same kind of high, right? But yeah, you can take bananas and frozen bananas and mush them up and get ice cream.
Excellent.
But the point is, most people, when they're craving foods, they're craving really something more. They're craving a deeper connection.
Something familiar.
So, when I always tell people when you're want to do something that reminds you of your family, it doesn't have to be about food. It can be activities. What is something that they love to do? What's something that music? And I think when I try to connect with my grandmother who just passed away, I listen to music because she loved to dance. Now, she also was a cook and she made all sorts of stuff that I don't eat anymore.
Yeah,
but the emotional connection I tie to her is to music, right? So there's other ways. And when I always tell people, when you go on date night, why do you have to have date night at a restaurant with a big basket of bread in front of you? How about date night is to go to a museum together, or go to a show, or go dancing, or go to that rock climbing place? We can do other things besides sit there and get high on food together. It takes a mental shift and a decision that you're going to start living in a different way, and it's a much more beautiful way to live. It's connected with people and with life, instead of sitting there at home trying to get high off what's on your plate.
You've partially answered what I was going to ask you, because there's somebody actually who has a show on this station, and I've tried to talk to her about diet, and she said, frankly, I'm afraid of losing weight. Mm-hmm. I'm afraid of who I'll become, and I'm uncomfortable thinking about being thin. Can you address that?
Absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of reasons why people, so you're talking about being overweight. There's a lot of reasons why people do that. I mean, there's nobody on the planet, even if you don't read my book and you don't learn about hypernourishment, people know that they shouldn't eat a bag of chips, right? Or they shouldn't eat fast food, right? So when you make the decision to do that, it's never because you just didn't know better. There's on some level So you're making a decision to intentionally hurt yourself. So why is that? So sometimes it literally is addiction. I now have patients and clients as young as 2 years old with autoimmune disease, and their parents say they won't eat vegetables. They only like nuggets and macaroni and cheese. I said,
who's the charge?
Right, but I said, you've created junkies. And now they're going to have to go in withdrawal.
right.
They're crack addicts and they're going into withdrawal, but they're food addicts, which is much worse drug. It's harder it causes more damage and more destruction. And you now have to go through this process. So some of it is pure addiction. And then some of it is self-esteem. I had a patient back in the day who, she was extremely obese, very traumatized. And she decided to get gastric bypass. Her doctors wanted her to do it because she had such severe diabetes. And they wanted me as her psychiatrist to write a release form. And I said, no. I said, she's not emotionally ready. Well, they ignored me, so I don't know why they needed my letter, because they ignored me and they did it anyway. And she got severely anxious and depressed because she was losing weight so quickly. She would hold pillows against her body because she was sexually assaulted. And so for her, becoming thin it means I'm going to get more attention, I'm going to be more attractive, and I'm vulnerable to being attacked.
More vulnerable.
Whereas the fat was a way of protecting herself emotionally. Right. So we do need to address the emotional side. And that's also something I see in my rapid recovery groups, is that people will be getting better. So after a few weeks, their arthritis is gone. And they have all this energy, and then all of a sudden they'll eat something off plan, and I never let them get away with it. I said, okay, what happened? And a lot of the time, it's that they're feeling so good, they get terrified because I'm going to have to go off disability. People might expect me to work again. People might expect me to go to social stuff anymore. I won't have a reason to say no. And their life is changing so fast, they get terrified.
Wow.
And I have to help them feel safe that it's okay. You can say no to social events just because you don't feel like it. And nobody's going to force you to start working right away. That it's safe to be well, because they get so indoctrinated and used to being sick.
We only have a few minutes left. Believe it or not, these shows go so quickly. What about someone who is under doctor's care, who is prescribed various medicines, maybe a series of medicines, and they'd like to make this transition, but they're concerned about dropping medicines? And how do you make that transition? Because I imagine you don't need those medicines anymore.
Well, most people who see me are severely ill. I mean, nobody chooses to eat, raw vegan foods first. They try everything else first. They're like, let me try the beans and potato diet first. Let me try paleo first. Let me try these. And then when everything fails, they go, fine, I'll eat vegetables. So then they call me up, right? So most people I see are severely ill. And what I usually tell them is, listen, your rheumatologist, your doctors, they're managing your medicines. You can change your diet while on medicine. So I actually don't recommend that they suddenly stop their medicines. It could be keeping them alive.
Yeah,
right? So medicines won't give you health, but sometimes they can keep you stable or keep you alive. Right. Sometimes they make you worse. But usually what I tell them is stay with your meds, stay with your doctor. We'll change your lifestyle and your diet. And then as you don't need the medicine anymore, then they can take you down. And that happens all the time. I have people with hypothyroid, and then after a few weeks, they get really jittery because their thyroid dose is now too high because their thyroid's healing. So then they go to their doctor, lower it. Then in 2 weeks, usually they get dizzy if they're on blood pressure medicine because now their blood pressure's low. So they can come off their blood pressure medicine. So I like doing it that way. I mean, I'm still a Western medicine doctor. I like to be cautious. So my thing is, as you don't need it, then you can come off of it rather than suddenly stopping it. Now you're really, sick and you don't know what's going on, and then you're trying to change your diet. It's a lot. So it's totally fine to take medicine while you're changing your health. You
watch TV, and the preponderance of commercials now are for drugs. And it just seems like people must be in the mindset that drugs are the only solution to my problems, but they do create a lot of other problems. I know this is a huge subject, and we only got a couple minutes now to talk, but it is a great concern. Seems like that's where all the money is.
Well, yeah, and that's all we learn. I mean, when I went to medical school, this was before we had iPhones or iPads or anything. So I literally had to memorize 600 drugs a semester with every medicine, every side effect, every interaction. And that was what we were taught. I was taught surgeries and procedures and medicines. And so, when people get upset that their doctor only wants to prescribe medicine, I'm like, that's like getting mad at your acupuncturist for only prescribing needles. It's just what they know. Everything I always say that, never listen to nutrition advice from a doctor, which is funny because I'm a doctor. But truly, there's never any training in it unless they learn it.
We had a friend that we actually got to eat vegan, and his wife, they both lost tons of weight. She looked really beautiful. And then his doctor insisted he go back on meat.
Oh, my gosh.
He's not with us any longer.
Oh, that's the worst.
We are talking with Brooke Goldner, MD, who will be at the Cameron Center tonight. This is July 11th, 7 p.m. tonight. It's free. Just be there. You don't have to make a reservation, and food provided by Down to Earth in Kahului. And how can people find you on the internet again?
GoodbyeLupus.com.
Good enough. Thank you so much. You are an angel. My goodness.
Brooke Goldner. Thank you, Maui Toyota.
Thank you, Maui Toyota, Bobby D. Best, and KAKU 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui. Aloha. I'm Bill Best.
I'm a doctor.